This podcast is not suitable for children or those who are easily disturbed. Spoiler warning for whatever is in the title of this episode.
And now for the obligatory socials. Please like, share and subscribe. You can find the podcast on Twitter at HorrorPod69. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Slasher and Goodreads. Become part of the Disturbed community by asking for the Facebook group and Discord links. Send dick pics to the Horror of Babylon podcast at gmail.com. Support the show at patreon.com/thehorrorofbabylon. In closing, you can let your friends know that The Horror of Babylon is available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible and all other major podcast apps.
Welcome to a very special live bonus episode of the Horror of Babylon, where we discuss Pet Sematary Bloodlines. I am Ryan, and with me as always is Daniel. Say hi, Daniel.
You know, Ryan, they say a dad's biggest job is not talking to his kids.
Maybe in 1960 whatever,
Yeah,
but
maybe in Ludlow.
not in 2023. We've learned that talking to your family is better than not talking to your family.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you to our patrons, Abigail the First, Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons, and
Logan,
the Full Metal Patron, and Ben, the Fourth, Patron of Hope, and Mia the Fifth, the Rayne Maker.
She makes it rain.
And thank you to Four Horsemen Comics and Gaming, which you can visit at the Morgantown Mall in Morgantown, West Virginia, the mall at Robinson in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You can shop online at shop.fourhorsemencomics.com, or you can visit their new location in Ludlow, Maine. No, not even Ron would be that stupid. But if you do make it into Four Horsemen, say hello to Ronald III, the Baterman of Christmas.
And if you shop there or buy online, make sure to mention us.
Yes, but he doesn't like to be called Baterman. He prefers to be called Master Baterman.
God dang it.
God dang it.
Because you can't edit me, I'm having to pause to watch myself.
Yes, please. So this is our first time watching this movie. So let's just talk about expectations. What were kind of your thoughts going into this movie?
Okay, so before I saw the trailer and I heard that it was happening, my expectations was, this is going to be pretty bad. And then I saw the trailer and I was like, okay, I mean, it looks kind of generic, but not outright horrible. There's nothing I could have pointed to in the trailer and gone, that makes me not want to watch this. And then I watched it, and I was like, oh, my initial instinct was correct.
I did not watch the trailer. So this project was announced years ago, and I first heard about it on the Losers Club podcast in maybe 2020, 2021 was when it was first announced.
It would have been right after the movie, right?
Yeah, it was after 2019, which was the year that It Chapter 2 and the Pet Sematary remake were made, and Dr. Sleep.
Yeah. That big, there was a big Stephen King revival for a year.
They announced originally this was going to be either a mini-series or a TV series or a streaming series. And it was still going to focus on Timmy Baterman. And it was also announced with a streaming series called The Overlook, which was a prequel series to the Shining.
Yeah.
They basically after the two It movies, just every studio was buying every Stephen King license and just trying to get these.
They saw
projects.
that buku's money.
Yeah, and they're just get any Stephen King project off the ground, just do it.
And then they saw It Chapter 2, and they were like, oh, wait a minute.
It Chapter 2 still made
money.
A ton of money, and a lot of people do like it.
Yeah, I guess.
They do. They do.
I know. I just don't understand.
Well, preferences. It's all relative. So I didn't really have any expectations about this. I like the idea, and this is very similar to The Last Voyage of the Demeter, of instead of adapting an entire novel, taking a small section of a novel and turning that into its own movie.
Yeah.
I don't think it worked for either of those movies. I still like the idea, but maybe the idea just doesn't work because you have to add so much to stretch it out to be a full movie. I have no idea how the hell they were going to make this into a series.
Yeah. And honestly, I feel like there were ways you could have stretched it out into like a tiny mini series, like maybe 3 episodes. But that would have required, I mean, in my opinion, would have required them to not make certain changes that they made that are still kind of baffling. Like, I'm sitting here thinking about why they made certain choices.
Yeah. Well, we'll get
into that.
Yeah,
so.
we'll get more into that.
Trigger warning.
It's kind of gross.
It's kind of gross.
Yeah, there are some effective things that are just kind of gross.
Yeah, if some, I guess, especially animal gore gets to you.
Yeah. If you don't like to see mutilated animals, well, you probably shouldn't be watching any Pet Sematary thing. Okay, so we are moving to background.
The vampire's a pure myth, superstition. I may be able to bring you proof that the superstition of yesterday can become the scientific reality of today.
Okay, so this film first released at some film festival. I looked at it and I forgot. The Fantastic Fest. Which does not describe the movies they release, apparently. And that was on September 23rd of this year. It hit streaming yesterday, which was Friday, October 6th, 2023. Has a runtime of 84 minutes. It is directed by Lindsay Anderson Beer. This is her first film. She has a couple writing credits. Let me get to her page real quick. We don't have the extensive notes that we normally have for these things.
This is more entertaining.
Yeah.
Mumbling around and looking at this.
Okay, so she had written for the Sierra Burgess is a Loser. Is that a movie or a series? Okay, so she wrote the movie Sierra Burgess is a Loser. And then she wrote and directed Pet Sematary Bloodlines, which this is her first directing job. And upcoming, she is writing for the TV series The Magic Order, and she is a producer on the Lord of the Flies film that's in pre-production right now. So,
not an extensive career.
No, she's an up-and-comer. There were some production things I enjoyed about this movie. What I didn't like was mostly like decisions in writing and things that have to do with like the continuity of the books.
That bothered me. There were some it's just certain horror tropes that I'm also kind of sick of.
I'm sick of every horror trope ever.
There's one just specifically that whenever they have a dead person or a possessed person, they make that creaking bone sound effect.
Oh, I liked that.
It is but it's the exact same in every movie that it's used in.
I can't think of another movie where that happens. Granted, I don't have your I don't have your encyclopedic knowledge of
horror movies. Yeah,
so
I watch them almost obsessively.
Yeah, I actually was gonna my king was gonna be the sound design and the sound effects.
Yeah, like a lot of the gross wet noises.
Yeah.
A lot of the creaking bones. I find it to be very typical in sound design for horror movies.
I guess I just don't. Can you give me like an example?
Off the top of my head, any zombie movie you watch, almost any possession movie is gonna have the creaking bones thing. Because, they get the little girls to do the contortionist shit, and then they play that exact sound effect.
I guess I just don't watch these movies.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is not a budget for this published as of yet, but they don't always publish budgets for straight to direct to streaming movies.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. Of course, it is based on the novel Pet Sematary by Stephen King, and it is within the same continuity as the Pet Sematary remake from 2019, which, spoiler alert, is no longer my least favorite Pet Sematary movie.
Same. We found out it was connected when we started this movie, and they showed scenes from it.
They show the parts of the parade from the beginning of that movie.
And we were like, okay, I guess we know what we're in for.
Yeah, which that, like, I'm not a big fan of that movie, but I think I prefer it that they directly connect it to one of the movies than just to be its own thing. And I don't think it was really hurt by the fact that it's part of that continuity. It's just is what it is. Okay. Yeah, I think that about does it for background. So let's go ahead and jump into structures and themes.
And that's that. Another story in the classic, infallible 3-act structure. Good enough for Aristotle, good enough for The Simpsons.
Mr. Sislak, I have a feeling there's going to be one more act to this story.
Well, I'm not hanging around for that.
I know you're singing over
4
top of our
acts.
camp cue.
Oh.
Okay, so we already briefly mentioned this. It's not an adaptation of the Pet Sematary novel. It's not its own thing. But like The Last Voyage of the Demeter, it's an adaptation of a section of the Pet Sematary novel.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of, like, being extremely high level, yes, it adapts that story. Timmy Baterman goes to war. Timmy Baterman dies. Bill Baterman resurrects him.
Yeah.
Bad shit happens. The townspeople, including Judd, converge on the Baterman house, and the Batermans end up dead.
Yeah. If you only read the Cliff Notes version and were asked to adapt that part.
Well, and that section of the book is not very long.
It is not very long.
So it's longer than the Demeter section of Dracula.
Yeah. But there are certain things that I think that you could have expanded upon, but they changed too much in order for it to be expanded upon. Like all the characters and their personal sins and stuff, especially Judd's, are things that you could have followed, especially if you were doing a miniseries.
Well, they did it at a different time in Judd's life, because in the book it's adult Judd.
Yeah, and in the
not like
and
I guess he was like 18 or.
And that's one of the changes they made was they made him 18-year-old Judd instead of I need to go get some strange flesh Judd.
I think 18-year-olds like strange flesh.
I mean, also yes,
but they did retain like them saying secrets and knowing things. It's just it's not as big a part of it as it is in the book. Like he knew the male lady Marjorie. He quoted when he spoke to her. He quoted her father's suicide note.
And I just far prefer the sins in the book when it comes to like the adultery of your very super specific heroes, which almost only kind of works because we already liked Judd at that point. So I don't know how you would have done it here, because first you would have had to have gotten us to like Judd, and then revealed he was cheating on Norma.
Well, I actually don't think that's true, because one thing I appreciated about the beginning of this movie, it doesn't show Uncle Ben getting killed. It doesn't show Bruce Wayne's parents getting killed. It assumes that you know how the Pet Cemetery and the burial grounds work. So shouldn't it also assume that you already know who Judd Crandall is and that you like him?
I mean, for people like us, but I don't know. This movie, I think, has a very bad point of entry for general audiences, which I don't think is helping it.
Yeah, but that's the least of my complaints, and I prefer that for once that they're assuming some amount of knowledge on the part of the audience. Like, have they seen the other movies?
But at the same time, nothing about Judd was what I was expecting, because I know book Judd, and I just kind of assumed movie Judd would have been like along those lines. And instead I want to join the Peace Corps Judd.
He didn't actually want to join the Peace
Yeah,
Corps.
but he wanted to join the army, but his dad got him out of the draft.
Didn't he serve I swear it said he served.
I think it was in the Korean War in the book. I might be mistaken.
He would have been too old because he was born in 1900. And
no, but yeah, because Timmy died in the Great War,
which was World War One. So if he was born in 1900, he would have been. America entered World War One in 1917, so he would have been 17. Maybe that he was too young.
And he wasn't. And Timmy wasn't one of his friends in the book.
He was just another guy.
He was one of his friend's sons.
I think he didn't serve. I think in the book he was just too young for World War One, and he would have been in his 40s for World War Two.
So, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. So it kind of follows that. Like, I feel like I need to serve, but I can't for whatever reason. That kind of feels the same. He felt like Judd. Well, that's character. All right, let's. Is there anything else that we want to talk about?
Oh, are we under structure?
Yeah, we're under structure and themes right now. So it's a spin-off of the remake. Originally, it used to be was going to be a series. We mentioned that.
Its structure is about what I expect for a straight-to-streaming horror movie.
Yeah, and I think the length was appropriate for what it was. If it would have been any longer, it would have been even worse.
The only thing I can say about the structure that's a criticism, and it only happened one time, but I was expecting it to happen more than once after I saw it. Was, Norma just gets bit by the dog. They take her to the hospital, and Judd immediately has a flashback of the dog attacking her.
It's not like it dogged him through the whole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was expecting that to happen. Like, I was like, oh, they're padding the runtime. But then it never happened again.
Yeah, it only happened once.
So.
Which makes sense. Obviously, that would be a haunting thing. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to characters.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
And of course, we'll start off with Judd Crandall, played by Joshua something or other. Joshua White, I think is his name. I must have scrolled right past the cast list we have. Credits. Oh no, I'm still on Lindsay Beers. Sorry, I'm on my second Beers. 2 beers on it. Yes, Jackson White, who I don't think I had ever seen him in anything before.
I don't think so.
Okay, so this was his 10th credit. He has been in a few other things. The only thing I've heard of was Ambulance.
I've seen 0 of these.
Yeah, and I just know of Ambulance. I'm pretty sure that was the Michael Bay movie that came out like last year.
Where they were in an ambulance.
Yeah.
And it's like one giant chase sequence in an ambulance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't happen to see that one.
Yeah, no. I thought it was a Transformers movie.
Yeah. So performance-wise, I didn't think he was bad. I felt like, even though this is a spin-off of the remake, I felt like he was trying to match some of the mannerisms of Judd from the original movie.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing a lot of the leaning forward with walking, and like in the original movie, Herman Munster walks with his hand on his back a lot.
He did actually remind me more of original Judd.
Yeah.
Than other Judd.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he felt kind of like a young Judd to me, but it wasn't so much him as like everything around him that I didn't like. It was mostly like specific decisions that they made in the movie that turned me off.
Yeah, there's a lot of it's like the same thing whenever I was complaining about Prometheus the other day, is a lot of the stuff that they do is almost like they had to pick up the script and go, okay, that's my next step. In terms of poor decision making. A lot of that happens in the climax, though, so we'll get to that. Yeah.
And then we have Natalie Allen Lind, who plays Norma.
Who is in so little of this movie.
Yeah, I think she's, aside from David Duchovny, she's probably the biggest name in here. I was mixing her up with a different actress when I was talking about her earlier. Mm-hmm. But I have seen, I knew her from The Gifted, which was the X-Men TV series. She's also in iZombie, Gotham. She was in Wizards of Waverly Place, which I think is where she first got... Oh, and iCarly. So, like, she's been around since
she's been in some stuff.
But you're right. She was just barely in the movie at all. And, like, the first few scenes she's in are fine. But I think the hospital scene where she's getting, like, terrorized by the other girl is, like, one of the lowest parts of the movie.
I guess I'll get to that when we talk about scary shit.
Okay. All right. But, I mean, performance-wise, I mean, like...
No, my problem with that scene isn't her.
Yeah, I mean, like... and honestly, like, almost everybody, performance-wise, I think is fine.
I think that... Part of my problem is a lot of the performances were fine for what it is. Mm-hmm. And I almost would have preferred them to be bad so it was more funny.
Yeah.
A lot of them were like, this is the material we have to work with. Please don't judge us too hard.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's a paycheck. Like...
Yeah, and I don't feel like, honestly, if I was going to say anyone phoned it in, I would be like David Duchovny. And he was all over the advertising for this movie.
Well, I mean, because he is probably
he's the biggest name.
And let's just go ahead and jump to him. David Duchovny, who you probably know from X-Files. I think this, unless you count where he guest starred on The Simpsons, this is the first time I've ever seen him in anything.
I'm a big X-Files fan, so that's the reason I got excited for this.
I'm just scrolling down.
Of course, I didn't look up anything about this movie, so I just assumed he was going to play young Judd.
Apparently, he's in Zoolander and Evolution. I don't remember him in those movies, but I've seen those movies.
I have seen those movies. I don't remember him in those either.
But this is the first time I've ever seen him in a major role. And yeah, and apparently he's in Beethoven. Okay, whatever.
He's Brad.
Yeah, duh, he's Brad in Beethoven.
Brad
in Beethoven. The Beethoven-a-thon.
God, I used to watch Beethoven all the time.
I've actually seen it in the past couple of years because I watched it with the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's a dog movie. But yeah, I wasn't, like, super impressed with him. But I didn't think he was terrible.
He also just wasn't in a lot of it.
Yeah, there was a point where I swear he wasn't on screen for, like, 40 minutes.
I was timing it.
He shows back up in the scene where Billy Baterman is in the fridge, like being super gross.
And I understand he's like your big name, but I remember him being all over the advertisement for this when I actually started paying attention to it.
Yeah.
And egg on my face, I should have looked it up. I just assumed he was playing Judd. I was like, oh, they got him to play Judd. That's an interesting choice. I wonder how he's gonna like interpret that.
Well, if they would have done. I don't know exactly how old Judd was at that point in the story in the book.
I would have assumed like 30s to 40s.
Yeah, like he could have. Obviously, he's a little older. He's older than that,
but you could pass for that.
Yeah, you could pass for that. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But then Bill Baterman also doesn't have a huge role in the story. He buries his kid, and he fucked up,
and then he just kind of becomes a recluse.
Yeah, and then that's basically what happened here. So I guess they adapted the character of Bill Baterman.
He also got on board with killing his son a lot quicker than the Baterman in the book.
Yeah, he did. He did. But I mean, I think
what else are you gonna do?
Yeah, exactly. At that point, you just kind of had to let it happen. Okay, so Forrest Goodluck plays Manny, who I thought this character was kind of funny.
He was super funny. He's probably the highlight of the movie for me.
I was going to say, he's probably my favorite character. I feel like there is a character, like Judd mentions a friend by the name of Manny at one point.
Yeah.
But there's no like expounding on that character. I'm pretty sure he never mentioned that he had an indigenous American friend or anything like that. I think that...
Well, it's a Stephen King story, so we know they're not actually there. They're just mentioned.
And just a quick pass over on this gentleman's IMDb page. I have not seen anything, but he's a pretty young actor. He hasn't first started in like 2014.
He's in The Revenant.
Yeah, I haven't watched that. I've wanted to watch that.
Yeah, it's on my list.
Yeah,
I'm afraid of bears though, so
yeah. Animal attacks are one of those things that do get me. I watched
because it can happen.
Yeah, I watched this. nature documentary called The Flood, which is about this floodplain in Africa that's like a desert, basically, like 9 months out of the year. But and then the rainy season, it basically becomes a swamp. And it was about how like all the animals have to adapt to that. And there was this one part where these two like young male lions had to cross this section of water, and they got attacked by a crocodile. And it just, you see the crocodile come out of the water and grab one of the lions and then just death roll it into the water. I'm just like, Jesus Christ, that is way scarier than anything I've ever seen.
That is why I will not go near a swamp.
Yeah, it's scary. So we can't go to Florida?
We can go to Florida. I just can't go near a swamp or water.
No, the entire state of Florida is a swamp. Florida burn. Another highlight of the movie I thought was Isabella LeBlanc, who plays Donna, Manny's sister. She's not in a lot at the beginning, but to me, she was just kind of charming, and then it was just kind of super sad when she got knifed.
I don't know if she did a good job or if I was just attracted to her. I'm just trying to be honest.
I will say I thought she was very attractive. She is very attractive.
She was very pretty. I found her to be charming.
Yes.
But
I guess,
which makes me a little biased.
Yeah. I mean, maybe she's not a great performer. Maybe she just charmed us because we're a couple of horn dogs. But no, I thought she did a good job.
One of the few things I actually liked cinematography wise was the sunflower garden that was at their property.
It was pretty.
I was like, that's actually a pretty cool backdrop for like a horror scene.
It's always corn.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's never anything but corn. But sunflowers, like, it gives you that same effect of like a really tall plant that you can't see around you.
And you got that nice splash of yellow, so it's a little disarming. So
and it's just different from corn.
Yeah. And then when blood splatters, you can see it on the thing.
Yeah.
Color theory.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It was lovely.
That was one of like the scenes and vignettes that I was super on board with.
Okay, we should probably talk about Timmy Baterman, who's played by Jack Mulhorn. Just quick look at his IMDb page. He's been in some stuff, but I don't particularly recognize.
I don't recognize any of those.
I thought
he tried.
Yeah, that's why I felt like he was giving it his all, but he was kind of working with not great material.
Not great material. I don't know if that's one part script. It might be one part directing.
Yeah.
Because sometimes a director will say, hey, I want you to deliver it like this. Mm-hmm. And I don't always agree with the decision.
The one scene where I thought he was kind of effective was the very first scene where he's talking to them through the other side of the screen door.
I thought that was probably the best scene.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of genuinely creepy. And it's just kind of dark. You can only see part of his face. And then the dog attack, it didn't scare me, but it surprised me. Mm-hmm. It was a jump scare, but they didn't like lead into it with like any music or anything. It just happened, which is what happens with dog attacks. Like,
yeah,
like I said, animal attacks can get me.
Animal attacks get me.
But then like there are parts of the rest of the movie where he just felt so goofy. Like the scene where it shows him wading under the water to attack. I was like, I'm a killer frog.
Dude, they did that a bunch.
It like his fucking like tunnel system that they didn't explain at all.
Yeah, he was copying the Viet Cong.
Yeah, it was. So of course the 2019 movie took place in modern day, which meant that Timmy Baterman couldn't go to World War I. He had to go to Vietnam, but he did like a lot of like things like the Viet Cong were known to do, like tunneling, like setting like traps and mine traps. In the forest, he set that spike trap in the sunflower field, like a lot of Viet Cong-esque things.
You know, I almost would have wished they would have focused like a little bit more on that.
Yeah, I mean, because that's interesting.
Yeah, because if you got the time period change, you got the stuff that I guess is in the body's memories, not maybe what's possessing him, but and then he just Because the best scene he's in is when he's fucking with Judd over the draft.
Yeah.
And then you got the tunnel system and the spike. I feel like if they would have leaned more into that, it might have been more effective.
The tunnel system could have been scary. I'll talk more about that in scary shit.
Yeah.
There's actually a lot of characters. I don't know if there's any others that you specifically want to discuss. I think we kind of hit the ones that I meant to discuss.
Yeah, I mean, the rest of them are pretty tertiary.
She looks familiar. The lady who played
Judd's mom.
Yeah, I've seen her in something.
American Psycho?
No. Looking. Under the Dome is another Stephen King property.
I still need to read that.
Yeah, I haven't read the... Maybe I just recognize her from Grey's Anatomy because Beck watched... No, she's only in 3 episodes. Nightmares and Dreamscapes.
Okay.
That's what... And I've watched that recently, so that's where I recognize her from. I think she's in the episode that has to do with erections. Oh, and she plays Susan in Salem's Lot. That's what I'm thinking of.
All right.
Okay, cool. But yeah, like the rest of the cast, like again, like the cast isn't bad. Pam Grier is in it, and she's a character actor. She's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, she was the post woman.
Yeah, Marjorie, who again was actually canonically the first character to see the reanimated Timmy Burton in the book, and I think that it even mentions in the book that she took over her father's postmaster job after he hung himself.
Only it was a guy in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, she was a woman.
Was
Marjorie.
she?
Yeah, Marjorie.
I could have sworn the postmaster was a dude that ended up beating his wife after they talked.
Well, maybe she wasn't postmaster, but she was a mail carrier.
Okay.
Because I remember it described that she left her route unattended for some amount of time.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Who is Maria? Maria.
Don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
She's in Justice League though, so.
Yeah, she's in a lot of stuff. Very big. IMDb. The Wild Thornberries. Mars Attacks.
I like Mars Attacks.
Original Gangsters. Fresh Prince. Lots of stuff. Cool. Okay, so I think we're stretching on characters. Yeah. So that means that it's time to move on to Ryan, to scary shit.
Kill you all! I'll drive you crazy, and I'll kill you all! I'm every nightmare you ever had. I am your worst dream come true. I'm everything you ever were afraid of.
Okay, so is this movie scary?
I think we laughed too much to call it scary.
Yes, it's not scary. The one scene with the screen door was kind of creepy, and then the dog surprised me. But overall, if the effective things are just gross, they're not scary. There were lots of parts where I was like, "Ew, that's gross," or "Ew, yeah, that's disgusting."
I felt like there were parts where they wanted it to be scary.
Mm-hmm.
But again, maybe it's because I just watched too much horror shit where I'm going, okay. The big one was in the hospital, the chase scene.
That was probably the least scary thing.
And then, what's-her-face just magically teleported.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so you're Jason Voorhees now? You have teleporting powers?
That's on every stupid horror slasher chase thing.
In the good ones, I can justify it. In that one, I was like, is there like another pathway you took, or?
It bothers me every single time it happens, unless the person has like some sort of supernatural abilities. It bothers me every time I see something like that.
Yeah.
So the one thing that I was going to mention earlier is one of the history channels on YouTube I watch, a semi-recent, like this year, did a video on Viet Cong tunnel systems and the traps that they would set for American GIs. And they would do like all sorts of terrible things, like there would be like pitfalls, and you'd fall into a pit of poisonous snakes, or you'd be crawling through the tunnel checking for the Viet Cong, and they'd have like false floors, and you'd fall into like pits of spikes, or they would like you'd fall into a hole, and then they just cover you up and leave you there and just let you starve to death and rot in the dark. Like, so, and I'm not claustrophobic, but I definitely, the thought of crawling in a dark small tunnel doesn't agree with me. And like, so that part, like, there was definitely potential for that to be scary.
There was potential. I just feel like they would have had to focus more on it.
Yeah.
Apparently I am claustrophobic when I'm intoxicated, so.
Yeah, well, I think most people would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also feel like that's what they were trying to get across with Norma whenever she was getting covered with the mud.
Yeah.
But I ended up that felt more gross to me again.
Yeah, it did. To make it scary, I had to take myself out of it and picture it happening to myself, in which case, like, that's the end of the world.
And they didn't frame it as like a ticking time clock, like, oh, you only have so much time to find Norma. She just ended up saving herself by kicking the ground.
Which, that in and of itself doesn't bother me, but it felt ridiculous on top of everything else.
Yeah, because then you're just going, okay, then why were we even focusing on her? She got out by herself.
I mean, like, good on her,
Yeah.
but yeah, just I don't breathe well through my nose. So
Me either, so.
having my mouth taped and then having my face covered in mud, it sounds horrific, but it wasn't really if all the other ridiculous shit around it wouldn't have been happening, like Japanese river monster Timmy Baterman. Like,
what about the adding you got to shoot them in the eye?
That I think that's my biggest issue.
That was one of my biggest.
Is them just adding to the lore for no reason.
Especially when it's not carried over into the movie that they directly connect it to.
Yeah, it'd be one thing if they were expounding on additions from the previous movie.
Yeah.
But they're just adding to it for no reason when it's already a well enough of established lore and scary enough and fleshed out enough that it's just completely unnecessary.
They wanted to make them more like zombies to where you have to shoot them in the head, but shooting them in the head's too easy.
Yeah.
So now it has to be the eyes.
That's stupid.
I honestly found it distracting.
Yeah.
Again, because I know Pet Sematary, and I even know the movie that I don't like.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was not in that movie.
Nope. No, it wasn't. And even, like, you take all of the Pet Sematary media, like, I don't think any of them are ever killed through the eye.
Nope.
So it's not even like you plucked something from the novel.
And then, like, expanded on it.
Yeah, which would have been fine.
What they did expand on was the spiral, which shows up in, like, 3 lines of the book, which are good lines.
And they do use it in both movies because you see the cemetery as a spiral. But they don't draw attention to it at all in either of the other movies.
And in this one, they're like, hey.
Everywhere.
Pay attention. This is the spooky part. I'm like.
It was like crucifixes in Evangelion.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, it's everywhere.
Did Junji Ito write this?
Yeah. It felt a little like Uzumaki at points.
It
when
felt
they're like scribbling the spiral on paper. And
it almost felt like the Uzumaki movie is about the quality I'd put this at.
I think that's a little insulting to the Uzumaki movie.
Yeah. Because at least some of the effects in that were, like, visually interesting.
In terms of effects, I think the simple effects looked good. It was when they tried to do something elaborate where it looked bad. Like the guy who had his head completely turned around, I didn't like. When Norma is wiping off Donna's feet.
In the CGI.
That looked bad.
I was like, that looks pretty bad.
But, like the animal gore.
The animal gore looked fine.
Like, just the dog bite looked good.
Yeah. I think that if they would have focused on more stuff like that, it probably would have been a little more effective, too.
Yeah, like the simple things. Like, the hand through the spike looked decent.
Yeah, that was fine.
Giving it some compliments, aside from, like, those effects, like, just, like, overall production, sets, costumes, lighting, I thought was very good.
I thought it was acceptable. It was about as good as I could say.
Yeah.
Other than, like, the sunflower field, nothing in it really stood out to me a lot.
I liked the design of the pet cemetery in the flashback.
Yeah.
And I liked the costume and the mask that the indigenous American chieftain was wearing, and I liked the design of the Ludlow guy who was heaped over eating the other people. I liked everything in that sequence design wise. But yeah, I think other than that, it's mostly the sunflower field and just kind of like Donna's artwork kind of interspersed, like the masks and her paintings kind of. And other than that, like there were like some very like iconic 60s imagery, like
We got that one car at the end.
The car.
What was that? A doom buggy?
I don't know.
I don't know cars.
Like the kids around the campfire and playing the 60s music and blowing bubbles and having flowers in their hair.
Very the hippies.
Yeah, exactly. Very flower child kind of thing. So yeah. I think that about covers it for scary shit. So let's move on to Kiss Me Fat Boy.
Kiss me, fat boy.
All right, we're gonna play Smash or Pass with. Do you want to play with the characters or the actors in this movie?
Let's do the characters.
Okay, so Judd Crandall.
Smash.
Yeah.
I'd be his strange flesh.
Yeah. No, I agree. I totally smash. Especially Jackson White, Judd Crandall. Like, I don't know why they ever put a shirt on him at any point in this movie.
It was pretty cut.
I know. It was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Norma.
Smash, we'd laugh at Judd.
Doesn't she like to get fucked in the ass by other guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, smash. All about that. Manny too. Like, I think I'd rather have beers with Manny, but if Manny wanted it, like, I'd probably smash as well.
If I could only have his sister by getting through him, it would be a smash.
Oh, absolutely. Like, the hardest smash in all of this is Donna.
Yeah.
Hard, like, I smash the button so hard I break it.
She is very attractive.
Very attractive. And then, Judd's dad.
He looked like Stephen King.
He did. And I love Stephen King.
I wouldn't smash him.
No, I mean...
He's not my type.
If he needed a blowjob to save his life,
yeah,
sure.
If that's the only way I could get another book.
If I get to pick the next book,
yeah,
then hell yeah.
I want you to write about the spooky laugh they made a joke of in Family Guy. I just want you to do it.
I don't. I would not waste his last book on that. Like, give me a sequel to it. I know it's not going to be as good. I know it's probably going to be bad, but
it might even ruin the original book. I just want it.
I want it. It doesn't matter. Timmy Baterman, pass.
Yeah, pass.
I can't do creepy. I'm sorry.
Just also not my type. I'm not into shaved heads.
It's okay. Yeah. All right. Bill Baterman. David Duchovny kind of has that like gray beard, silver fox thing going. I kind of like it. I think I'd smash.
Yeah, I'd probably smash.
Yeah. I also like one of my only like two like things about David Duchovny that stick out in my head, other than that's the guy from X-Files, is he guest starred on the X-Files episode of Simpsons, and I read an article once that he had a porn addiction. So
so he's just like me.
Yeah,
he's
I was just saying,
like
so
me
we
for
could
real.
we could watch porn together.
Yeah.
Like he could like hold me. Yeah, I'm down.
I hope that's true.
No, I mean hold on, because like we've got anything.
Yeah.
Does David Duchovny
have a daughter?
Have a porn address?
Does he have a
porn addiction? David Duchovny's recent entry into rehab for a self-described obsession with internet pornography has cast an Yeah, no, I read like a legit news article.
So he's a man of the people.
He's a man of the people. David Duchovny's sex disorder likened to alcohol. Obviously, like, people can be legitimately addicted to porn, and it can be like a problem.
I'm going to give this movie a thumbs up just for this.
Yeah. Okay, let's do a couple more.
Yeah, we'll just do them all.
Kathy Crandall.
Smash.
Yeah, especially if she can dress up like Vampire Susan from Salem's Lot.
I liked her in this movie. Something about them sundresses just drive me crazy.
Yeah, that's cute. I think it's
Smash.
because women don't generally like dress like that anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely not advocating to a return to anything else, but I just like those dresses are attractive.
I like them.
Pam Grier.
Smash.
Yeah, also smash. So the cop who died and we didn't even they didn't even deem it worthy of us seeing him die.
Yeah, no. He's not my type.
Yeah, also pass. John, I don't even remember who the hell is Johnson?
Was he the other dude who died in the barn?
That was Benson.
Okay.
Let's see if Hannibal Benson, this guy.
I'll pass on him too.
I'll pass on him as well. I think that's fine. Like I'm not going to I think the rest of these people are from the flashback.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, was he... It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
We did a good smasher pass.
Yep. All right, so we are jumping from Kiss Me Fat Boy to The Power of Christ Compels You.
The power of Christ compels you! The power of Christ compels you!
So, something we mentioned in the previous Pet Sematary episodes is that you kind of expect these movies to make more of a link to to a Christian worldview, but they don't. The book mentions the resurrection of Jesus in the story of Lazarus multiple times, but none of the movies make any sort of reference to that.
He said Lazarus come forth.
Yeah. Thank God he said Lazarus, or else everybody in that shithole would come forth.
I think I mentioned this it was either when we reviewed the book or the movie, is just that they purposefully cut that stuff out these days.
Yeah, well, I mean, even as far back as the 80s, the original.
Yeah. It makes it feel a little too Jesus-y to some people, I guess. I don't know. I like that stuff in the books because it feels real. It feels like something a kid would say.
Yeah,
It feels like something people in the Midwest would bring up.
I like a little religion mixed in with my horror movies. Children of the Corn is not great, but I think I really like the religious aspects of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the first part of...
I think it's why I like possession movies.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's definitely a huge part of why I like The Exorcist and other things. It's a huge part of why I like Dan Brown's books.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously. Okay, cool.
We should review a Dan Brown book.
We absolutely should do that.
Because we could read it in a day.
Yeah, I think it's close enough. There's horrific things happen. But we're not here to talk about Donald Brown. We're here to talk about Donald King and Donald Koontz and Kings and Koontz.
Oh my God, are you Stephen King? No, I'm Dean Koontz. Oh.
Who's first?
You go ahead.
Okay, my king is David Duchovny.
Just because you X-Files boy?
Yeah.
That's fair.
That's pretty much it. I
mean, that's why James Earl Jones was my king in The Exorcist, too. I mean, because I Star Wars boy.
I really like The X-Files. I do think that his performance here felt a little phoned in at parts.
He's old. He's tired. Give him a break.
And if I would have read this script, I would have probably also viewed it as a paycheck. But at the same time, I like to see him and stuff.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of actors that I feel the same way about. Yeah. I think for me, it, like I said earlier, it's kind of the sound design with sound effects and music, and also just the few 60s music choices they made. I do not doubt you at all when you say those bone-cracking sound effects are overused in horror movies, but I don't have the same worldview because I do not watch as many horror movies as you do. In fact, I basically watch almost no horror movies anymore unless it's for this.
For this, yeah. I watch probably a new one a week.
Yeah, and even before this podcast, I watched horror movies, but not
religiously like me. So
yeah. And then for Koontz, I just don't like them expounding on the lore when it's like so absurdly unnecessary. I did like the flashback and just kind of that little taste of
a taste of it's fine. A taste of expansion, but when you're inventing new rules,
it's stupid.
That's where my line is.
Yeah, that was too much for me. And then a close second was just like some really bad editing and like continuity things in the last half of it, where they Manny and Judd are like carrying rifles the whole time they're going through the tunnels, and then
how much ammo you got left?
They emerge from the tunnels and their rifles are gone. And also, like, it cuts from Timmy Baterman in the tunnel to Timmy Baterman out of the tunnel, and it never shows him exiting the tunnel. And it's just like, were they drunk when they did this?
They had to cut a scene to get the runtime down so people will watch it.
I mean, it's under 90 minutes. They could have made it 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And made it a little, I mean, honestly, I might have sat through 140 if it made like a little more sense. It's still
I'd almost bet you there's a scene of them firing their rifles and then running out of ammo that they cut. I'd almost bet money on it.
I have no idea why. Like I do think it's good that it was short. But a few minutes here or there that made it to the cutting room floor that would have made more sense.
Yeah.
Would have been totally fine. Especially since it's a streaming movie, not a theatrical movie.
Yeah.
So the runtime isn't as important.
Yeah, because you don't have to like get more people into the theater seats.
Yeah, exactly. Your Koontz.
My Koontz is that not once did Judd mention the Rudd.
Yeah, the Rudd was there. Like he almost gets hit in the middle of the movie.
But he doesn't like say the line.
Oh, he just doesn't say Rudd.
Yeah.
The Rudd.
I know that would have been stupid and would have been
like, oh, I know that.
Yeah, it would have been one of those things that I'm always bitching about, but I was waiting for it the whole movie, and then I felt like I had blue balls from not getting it.
If I did, maybe it's something that I generally would say is good, is they didn't tire themselves out with references. So let's talk about Zombie Day just real quick. Like, there are a few references, like the Arenco truck at the end, the scalpel that she uses, but it doesn't run itself into the ground with references to the original, which I usually think is a good thing.
I usually think it's a good thing. I was just kind of hoping for that one line.
Yeah.
I was expecting it in a few places. I was expecting it after he almost got hit. And I was also expecting it before whenever they were taking the dog to the guy's house. I thought he was going to say, oh, he lives just down the road. But it never happens.
Oh, one other like lore change is they completely omit Judd's dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the Baterman dog now.
Yeah. And it's like...
Because now Judd can't know about it.
Yeah, because he has to find out about it through these events.
Yeah.
Whereas in the book...
He already knows.
He already knows.
He's trying to ignore it as long as he can, and then we can't ignore it anymore because now people are coming here asking questions.
Yeah. Gotta take care of business. Take care of business. Okay, do you hear I think I hear a noise. Does it happen to be the school bell? Okay.
My dog ate my homework.
You just heard the bell. Homework is due, and your homework assignment for this week was, if you were going to write and produce, maybe even direct your own, maybe cast your own Pet Sematary spin-off adaptation, what other section of the book would you adapt, or would you do this one, and how would you do it differently?
This is probably the one I would have tried because I think it's the most like isolated little event. The only other one that I would have done would have been, you know how when the ground turns sour and the Micmacs leave, is I would have explored the ground like slowly going sour, and you know settlers coming in and like poking at it and things fucking up, almost like what they did in the flashback. Yeah,
I think for me that's the direction I would have gone, because it's so far removed from the events of the actual novel
that it doesn't matter.
Yeah, like then if you fuck up, it's not as bad.
I still think that getting like Stephen Graham Jones to write that novel would be great.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
I wouldn't have shown it the full thing because I think the mystery is still better, but I would have given like a hint, like an extra hint of the Wendigo.
Yeah, I was hoping that we were going to see something of the Wendigo. I didn't want like the Wendigo to be the bad guy,
like a big CGI monster.
No,
Don't need
I did
that.
not. But like, you know, one of the things I really liked about the remake is you got just a smidge more of the Wendigo.
I would have liked maybe like eyes in the trees.
Yeah, something like that.
Or
you see the outline of a shadow walking in the forest.
And maybe they don't even call attention to it. You just see it in the background if you're paying attention.
Maybe it was there and we missed it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to watch this 5 more times to find out.
Like, you remember when I was talking about the original Exorcist and how they just kind of interspiced the demon's face?
Yes.
I would have done that with the Wendigo.
Yes. So I think what we need to do now is move to rankings, because I think we normally do that before or after Kings and Koontz and didn't have the outline up, so we need to head on over to the rankings. Spoiler alert, it's going to be low.
It is going to be low.
I'm
trying to be fair, because I've ranked things on the spur of the moment before, so I'm going to look at my list.
I will say that we clicked it on and saw that it had a 17% on Rotten Tomatoes. The first scene where the hand jumps out of the grave was really bad.
Oh God, I forgot to mention that.
But like 20 minutes into the movie, 30 minutes into the movie, I'm thinking,
fine.
Like 17% seems a little harsh.
Yeah.
But then it got worse and worse.
And then it just circled back around to that very stereotypical hand coming out of the ground thing.
I'd probably give it a 19%.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, so here's the bottom portion of your list.
Okay. It's better than Fly.
Yes.
It's better than Roar. It's better than All That You Love Will Be Carried Away.
Yep.
Is it better than Boogeyman?
The original? Yeah, I think so, probably.
Maybe just from a pure production standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, there's just nothing really entertaining about that Dollar Baby. It doesn't make me as mad. Me personally, it doesn't make me as mad as Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter. I don't know which one is quote unquote the worst movie or the better movie, but
the Star Wars Holiday Special is a chore to sit through.
I like Watchers more than this movie.
Yeah, I also think that there's just also more stuff you can talk about with the Watchers movie than this movie.
And there were amusing,
but like there was funny bits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to put it below Watchers.
So your new number 74?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not quite in your bottom 5, but pretty close. It is 7th from the bottom for you. Okay, so going to and again, we have a link to our rankings listed in the show notes, the description. It's definitely better than Fly, Lolita, Roar. I think I like it more than Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, just because I like the property more.
Blood and Honey also didn't do, especially for you, anything with the property that it had.
Yeah. Oh, so the haunted house that I went to tonight, they wouldn't let you take pictures, so I couldn't take a picture. But they had a piglet from Blood and Honey, and it had a cleaver's knife, and it moved like this, and it I forget exactly what it said, but it was something like "Suey, come here, come here, come here, come here." They put like the piglet mask from the movie on it. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. It's better than All That You Love Will Be Carried Away, The Boogeyman, Alien 3. I don't know if it is better than Alien 3. Toxic Avenger, Near Dark. I don't know. It didn't kill Newt.
It didn't kill Newt.
It didn't kill Newt. It's okay, so I'm gonna say it's not better than Watchers, AVP Requiem. I guess it's not better than The Ring. It's not better than Phantoms. I guess it's not better than AVP. I think
the more we do this, the more jumbled our lists look.
Yeah, I think Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter pissed me off, But we did have more to talk about with that movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard. If I rank it above Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, it's just because I like Pet Sematary more. I don't know if it's better than Alien 3. All right. It's my new number 74, below Alien 3. It didn't kill Newt, but it killed everything else. I think that's fair.
Yeah. So it's your number 74. What was it for me?
79? No, 75. 75, so right there.
Okay.
Right there. Okay, so what have we not done? Zombie Day, homework, further reading. For further reading...
watch Pet Sematary 2. It's the better Pet Sematary spinoff.
It's immensely better. There's in no way that it's not better.
I am hard-pressed to think of something that Pet Sematary 2 does worse.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So just...
Maybe it has a worse poster, because I kind of like the poster for this.
Yeah, the poster for this, I like a lot. I like both of the posters for this movie. Just out of curiosity. No. Okay, so Pet Sematary 2019 is the only one of the 4 Pet Sematary movies that doesn't have a female director.
Huh.
Just random little factoid there. Because when you mentioned Pet Sematary 2, I remembered that Mary What's-Her-Face directed Pet Sematary and Pet Sematary 2.
Did she ever do anything after the Pet Sematary movies?
Probably. Let's just have a look-see. Let's go to IMDb instead of Wiki. We can pad the runtime on this episode a little bit if you want to, Daniel.
Just a tiny bit.
Just a little bit.
I'm just a little curious.
Yeah. You're a little bi-curious. I get it. That's cool. You're at that age. Mary Lambert is her name. So, yes, she has done stuff. Let's scroll down to Pet Sematary. I remember she did a lot of music videos. That's kind of how she got her start. Okay, so she did Pet Sematary in 1989. She did an episode of Tales from the Crypt in 1989. Lots of music videos. Madonna, Motley Crue, The Pretenders, Dolly Parton, Lionel Richie, Pet Sematary 2 in 1992. More Tales from the Crypt in 1992.
I might check out her Tales of the Crypt episodes.
There's lots of other stuff on here, but not stuff that I like. It seems to be like a lot of TV movies.
My Stepson, My Lover.
We're gonna open that in a new tab. We will come back to that. When You Believe, music from The Prince of Egypt.
Okay, I guess The Prince of Egypt.
Yeah, I guess she directed like a
TV
special about the music, I guess.
Cool.
Halloween Town 2, Calabar's Revenge.
Okay.
Urban Legends, Bloody Mary.
I still haven't seen that one.
I never made it through the first one.
It's not very good.
Mega Python versus Gatoroid.
Okay.
She directed one episode of Arrow, one episode of The Goldbergs, and one episode of Law & Order SVU.
Okay.
And upcoming from Mary Lambert,
Best Christmas Ever!
All right. So, yes, she does stuff and she's still working. Let's go to this movie, My Stepson, My Lover, directed by Mary Lambert. It's a drama thriller from 1997, 93 minutes long. Is there like a description?
Yeah, right there.
A kind nurse finds herself embroiled in a tense and potentially deadly family affair when she falls for the son of her ruthless new husband.
Oh, so it's reverse Lolita.
Yeah. But it's no, that's not. Just watching the trailer without sound and ew, that man looks yucky. Show the sun. Show the sun.
That is the sun.
No, that's not the sun. Okay, so here's the wedding. Show the sun. Ooh, that house is gorgeous. Oh, yeah! I'd fall for the sun, too.
Oh my god, his hands are huge.
Yeah. Damn. He looks familiar. Joshua Morrow. I just love these IMDb rabbit holes.
Yeah, we do this a lot.
Apparently, he was in The Young and the Restless, which my mom used to watch and had on all the time when I was a kid, so maybe that's what I've seen him in. He was in one episode of The Nanny, this movie, in the, like, almost nothing else except for 3,610 episodes of The Young and the Restless.
Tentacle 8.
All right, I think...
yeah, that's
right.
our rabbit hole for the evening.
All right, so upcoming on the Horror of Babylon, tomorrow, we're actually releasing our regular episode, which is our novel episode on Five Nights at Freddy's, The Twisted Ones.
Or as we like to say, the best Five Nights at Freddy's novel.
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
Not at all.
No.
Exact opposite of that.
Then the following Sunday, October 15th, we're releasing our episode on the new movie, The Exorcist Believer, which you just saw today.
Yep.
And I'm going to go watch by myself and just regret all of my life choices. Then the next Sunday, October 22nd, we're wrapping up the Five Nights at Freddy, the Silver Eyes trilogy with The Fourth Closet, which is the third book, which when I was editing the Twisted Ones episode, there are several points where both of us call it the fourth book.
It confuses you.
Yeah. And then the last Sunday in October, October 29th, we are reviewing the Five Nights at Freddy's movie.
Hooray.
And then our next two bonus episodes on Thursday the 12th, the Alienathon is back with Prometheus, and October 19th, Treehouse of Horror of Babylon is back with The Exorcist, which is the Simpsons parody of The Exorcist. Assist is like a bad thing. And by the way, thank you to our patrons, Abigail the First, Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons, and
Logan,
the Full Metal Patron, and Ben, the fourth Patron of Hope, and Mia the Fifth, the Rayne Maker.
She makes it rain.
And thank you to Horsemen Comics, which you can visit at the Morgantown Mall in Morgantown, West Virginia, the Mall at Robinson, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You can shop online at shop.forhorsemancomics.com. And if you make it in, say hi to Ron, the Ronald III, Grandpa's of Christmas. He's a real nice guy.
He is a very nice guy.
He's a very nice man. He's a very nice man. Well, thank you for suffering through Pet Sematary Bloodlines with me.
You're welcome, Ryan.
And thank you to our patrons. Stay tuned for our socials and stay scary.
Stay scary, everybody.
And now for the obligatory socials. Please like, share, and subscribe. You can find the podcast on Twitter at HorrorPod69. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Slasher, and Goodreads. Become part of the Disturbed community by asking for the Facebook group and Discord links. Send dick pics to the Horror of Babylon podcast at gmail.com. Support the show at patreon.com/the Horror of Babylon. In closing, you can let your friends know that the Horror of Babylon is available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, and all other major podcast apps. Stay scary.